there. Welcome back for another deep dive.
Always exciting to be back.
Today, we're tackling something I think we all grapple with at some point, personal growth.
Yeah, for sure.
We're going to explore what it takes to build a life that feels rich and meaningful.
Right.
And to help us do that, we've got the work of an author writing under the pen name Pico Alegre.
Interesting.
That's happy peak in Portuguese, by the way.
Okay.
Pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
We're diving into excerpts from two of his books, Metamorphosis and Ensinamentos para ganhar uma vida rica and Vencendo a Inertia.
Okay.
Both of which really dig into this idea of overcoming inertia and pushing past those times when you feel stuck.
I think what's so intriguing about the name Happy Peak is that it suggests there's this destination we're all striving for.
Yeah.
But as we'll uncover, it's not just about reaching the peak.
Right.
It's about the entire journey, the climb itself, that really shapes us.
I love that.
Yeah.
And it's something Pico Alegre really emphasizes, this idea that the path to growth isn't always smooth or glamorous.
It's true.
He uses a rather unexpected metaphor, the dung beetle's metamorphosis.
Okay.
Not exactly what you'd picture for a self-help book, but it makes a point.
It's actually brilliant.
Right.
It reminds us that growth can be messy, uncomfortable, even a bit chaotic at times.
Right.
But it's through those messy, uncomfortable phases that we shed old patterns and transform into something new, something stronger.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's easy to get caught up in self-pity when things get tough.
Yeah.
But Pico Alegre is all about taking responsibility, saying, hey, we're the architects of our own lives.
Right.
So if we want to change the blueprint, we've got to be the ones to grab the tools.
Absolutely.
And the first tool he suggests we pick up is mindfulness.
Okay.
He's not talking about meditation retreats or anything like that.
Right.
It's more about slowing down, paying attention to the present moment.
I see.
Noticing our thoughts and emotions without judgment.
You know, I used to think mindfulness was all about emptying your mind.
Yeah.
But it's actually the opposite. It's about becoming aware of what's already there.
I see.
Those thoughts swirling around, those feelings we try to push down. It's like taking inventory before you can start reorganizing, right?
Precisely.
Right.
And only once we're aware of those thoughts and emotions can we start to understand why we feel stuck or why we keep repeating the same patterns.
Yeah.
And there's this really powerful quote from Pico Alegre that gets right to the heart of this.
Okay.
A man has two lives. The second begins when he realizes he only has one.
That is powerful.
It's a bit of a wake-up call, isn't it?
It's like, okay, no more snoozing the alarm clock. Time to get up and start living with intention.
Wow, yeah. And this leads right into another key theme in Pico Alegre's work, autonomy.
Oh, interesting.
It's not just about having a purpose.
Right.
It's about actively shaping your life, taking control of your direction.
I see.
And that starts with understanding the power of your own subconscious.
It's about recognizing that we have more control than we often realize. We're not just victims of circumstance or our own programming.
Yeah.
We can actually work with our subconscious mind to break free from those limiting beliefs that keep us feeling stuck.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? Good question.
It sounds a bit like mind control.
Yeah.
Which could be a little intimidating.
Pico Alegre has a really interesting approach that he calls veritas et utilitas, which is Latin for truth and utility.
Okay.
He shares this story about how he discovered a personal truth. He realized he was spending a lot of time trying to please others, even if it meant sacrificing his own happiness.
Sure.
The utility part was figuring out how to apply that truth.
I see.
He started setting boundaries, saying no to things that drained him, and prioritizing activities that brought him joy.
Makes sense.
And the result was a profound shift in his relationships and overall sense of well-being.
Wow, that's a perfect example.
Right.
It's not about forcing yourself to think positive thoughts.
No.
It's about uncovering your own personal truths.
Those deep down beliefs and values that might be holding you back.
Right.
And then figuring out how to use that knowledge to create positive change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he suggests some practical techniques for doing this.
Okay.
Positive affirmations are one.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of those.
It's about consciously choosing the thoughts we focus on.
Right.
Repeating phrases that reinforce the beliefs we want to cultivate.
So instead of, I'm never going to get this project done,
right,
it's about saying, I am capable and resourceful and I will find a way.
Exactly.
I've heard about visualization techniques too, where you actually create mental pictures of yourself achieving your goals.
Yeah.
Does Pico Alegre talk about that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Creative visualization is another powerful tool he advocates for. He believes that by vividly imagining ourselves succeeding, feeling the emotions associated with that success, we can actually reprogram our subconscious to believe it's possible.
Right.
And when our subconscious is on board, it's amazing how much easier it becomes to achieve our goals.
So, in a way, we're actively sculpting our own realities by shaping our thoughts, emotions, and actions.
Exactly.
Because like we're both the artist and the artwork, constantly evolving and refining ourselves.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
And if we connect this back to the idea of overcoming inertia,
Right.
it becomes clear that taking control of our subconscious is the key to unlocking our potential and creating the lives we truly desire.
This is all so inspiring, but I have to admit, sometimes I feel like I get stuck even when I am motivated.
Oh yeah, I know that feeling.
Life just gets so busy. There's always so much to do.
Right.
How do we actually prioritize effectively so we're not just spinning our wheels?
That's something we all struggle with.
Yeah.
And it's a topic Pico Alegre dives into deeply.
Okay.
He calls mastering prioritization a crucial step toward a rich life.
I like that.
And I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. It's one thing to have big dreams, but if you don't have a system for actually making those dreams a reality, they just stay dreams, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Pico Alegre offers some really practical tools to help us manage our time and energy more effectively.
Okay. I'm ready.
You've probably heard of the Eisenhower matrix,
Yeah.
where you categorize tasks based on urgency and importance.
I've heard of that one, yeah.
There's also Stephen Covey's time quadrant,
Right.
which focuses on shifting your attention to tasks that are important but not necessarily urgent.
Right. Those are classic time management strategies.
Yes.
But aren't there other approaches too, like the Pomodoro technique or getting things done?
Yeah.
I feel like there are so many different methods out there, it can be hard to know where to start.
You're right. There's no shortage of time management methods.
Yeah.
You've got Kanban boards, time blocking,
Right.
and so many more.
Wow.
The key is to find what works best for you.
Right.
But what's fascinating is that regardless of the specific method, they all emphasize the importance of conscious decision making. It's about stepping back and saying, okay, what really matters?
Yeah.
What aligns with my long-term goals?
Right.
And what can I let go of?
This is so important.
It is.
We're constantly bombarded with distractions and demands on our time.
Yeah.
So it's easy to get caught up in reacting to whatever feels most urgent in the moment.
Right.
But if we don't take the time to prioritize based on our values and goals,
Yeah.
we end up feeling like we're always running on a hamster wheel.
That's exactly the trap Pico Alegre wants us to avoid.
Okay, good.
He even lays out what he calls the law of prioritization.
Ooh, okay.
And it's broken down into 4 powerful teachings.
All right, let's hear them.
Saying no with courage.
Okay.
Embracing the power of less.
I like that.
Minimalism as a way of life.
Okay.
And minimalism with a skeptical eye.
Whoa, that's a mouthful.
I know, right?
Let's break those down, shall we?
Sure.
Saying no with courage, that resonates with me big time. I am so bad at saying no.
Yeah.
And I end up overcommitted and stressed out.
Makes sense.
But what does he mean by minimalism with a skeptical eye?
Yeah.
Doesn't minimalism just mean getting rid of stuff?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Pico Alegre is all about questioning assumptions.
Right.
He says, don't just jump on the minimalism bandwagon because it's trendy. Figure out what it truly means for you.
I see.
Is it about decluttering your physical space, simplifying your commitments, or finding freedom from material possessions?
Right.
It's about defining your own values and priorities.
Now I see.
And then creating a life that aligns with those values,
Yeah.
not someone else's.
That's a really important point.
It is.
Minimalism can look different for everyone.
Absolutely.
And it's not about deprivation or living with bare walls.
Right.
It's about intentionality, about making choices that create space for what truly matters.
And that's where embracing the power of less comes in.
Okay.
It's about realizing that saying yes to everything actually means saying no to the things that are most important.
Oh, that's deep.
It's about learning to say no gracefully but firmly,
Right.
so you can protect your time, energy, and focus for what truly matters.
So it's not about becoming a hermit and shutting yourself off from the world.
No, not at all.
It's about being more selective, more intentional,
Exactly.
so you can create a life that feels truly rich and meaningful.
And sometimes that means embracing silence, which is another fascinating concept that Pico Alegre explores.
Okay.
He draws this parallel to architecture, talking about how empty space like silence can actually be a form of communication.
That's such a unique perspective.
Right. He explains how silence can help us cultivate self-awareness, active listening, and emotional regulation.
I see.
It's about creating space for reflection,
Right.
for deeper understanding,
Yeah.
and for more authentic connection with others.
So it's not about just being quiet.
No,
It's about using silence intentionally to enhance our communication and relationships.
exactly.
But what about those awkward silences, the ones that feel tense and uncomfortable?
Is there a way to make sure silence is working for you and not against you?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And, Pico Alegre actually addresses that directly.
He does.
He talks about silent eloquence, this ability to express truth and wisdom through nonverbal communication.
Wow.
It's the power of presence, of really listening and observing,
Right.
holding space for someone else to share without feeling the need to fill every gap with words.
Right.
And he makes a really interesting point about choosing peace over being right in conflicts.
Oh, that's
Sometimes stepping back and allowing silence to diffuse a heated situation can be more effective than any argument.
That's so true.
Right.
Sometimes the best thing you can do is just shut up and listen.
Exactly.
But I can also see how silence could be used in a negative way, like as a form of punishment or manipulation.
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
And Pico Alegre doesn't shy away from that.
Okay.
He actually calls it negative silence,
Okay.
where silence becomes a way to avoid difficult conversations.
Exert control,
I see.
or even inflict emotional pain.
Right.
He stresses the importance of paying attention to your inner dialogue during those moments of silence.
How interesting.
Are you coming from a place of strength and clarity, or are you harboring resentment and anger?
So it all comes back to self-awareness,
Yeah.
being mindful of your intentions,
Right.
and making sure that even your silence is coming from a genuine place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he uses this beautiful visual, a diagram inspired by a heartbeat, to illustrate the cyclical nature of life.
Okay.
He shows how there are natural rhythms of silence and sound,
I see.
moments of expansion and contraction.
Hmm.
It's a reminder that embracing the full spectrum of our experience, including the silences, is essential for living a rich and meaningful life.
Okay, we've talked about overcoming inertia,
Yeah,
taking control of our subconscious,
right,
mastering prioritization,
Mhm.
and even finding eloquence in silence.
right.
But there's another big piece of the puzzle when it comes to personal growth.
Yeah.
Right.
It's that part.
Our emotions.
Yeah,
Sometimes it feels like they're driving the bus and I'm just along for the ride.
I know that feeling.
How does Pico Alegre approach this often messy, sometimes overwhelming world of feelings?
You're right. Our emotions can feel like an unpredictable force at times.
Yeah.
And I think many of us have been conditioned to believe that feeling good all the time is the ultimate goal.
Right.
But Pico Alegre offers a different perspective.
Okay, I'm listening.
He says it's not about eliminating negative emotions.
Okay.
It's about understanding and managing them so they don't control us.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all felt those waves of guilt, shame, anger, frustration, and
Right.
trying to pretend they don't exist just seems like setting yourself up for a major crash.
Exactly.
Right.
And he highlights the importance of emotional intelligence.
Okay.
You know, that ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions, as well as the emotions of others.
Yeah.
It's about learning to see those difficult emotions as messengers,
I see.
as signals that something needs to be addressed, rather than trying to ignore them or push them away.
So it's not just about knowing what you're feeling,
Right.
but also understanding why you're feeling it and how to use that information to make positive changes in your life.
Exactly.
It's like becoming fluent in the language of your emotions
Yep.
so you can actually communicate with yourself in a healthy way.
And what's fascinating is that emotional intelligence isn't just about mastering your own internal world.
Right.
It's also about understanding the emotions of others,
Yeah.
which is essential for building strong, healthy relationships.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Right.
But what about vulnerability? Sometimes it feels like we're supposed to have it all together to project this image of strength and perfection.
Yeah, I hear that.
Where does that fit into this whole picture of emotional intelligence?
That's a great question.
Yeah,
And one that Pico Alegre addresses head on.
he does.
He's actually a big advocate for vulnerability.
Oh, wow.
He challenges this idea that we always need to have it all together,
Right.
that we need to present this perfect, polished version of ourselves to the world.
I've always admired people who are willing to be open and honest about their struggles.
Yeah.
It makes them seem more human, more relatable.
Right.
But it's definitely something I struggle with.
It's definitely a challenge for many of us.
Yeah.
But what Pico Alegre suggests
Yeah.
is that by allowing ourselves to be seen authentically,
Right.
imperfections and all,
Yeah.
we create space for deeper connection, empathy, and resilience.
So it's not about wallowing in self-pity
No.
or oversharing every detail of your life.
Right.
It's about being genuine, about letting people see the real you flaws and all.
Exactly.
And when we do that, we give others permission to do the same.
And it can be incredibly freeing to release the pressure of always having to be on,
Yeah.
to let down your guard and be seen for who you truly are.
Okay, so we've explored the power of taking responsibility,
Yeah.
embracing our emotions, and cultivating emotional intelligence.
Uh-huh.
Where does Pico Alegre take us next on this journey of personal transformation?
He introduces a concept he calls the principle of total balance.
Okay.
And this is where things get really interesting.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Total balance. That sounds like a pretty lofty goal.
It is a big concept.
What does he mean by that?
It's about striving for harmony across all dimensions of your life: physical, mental, financial, emotional, and spiritual.
Okay.
It's a holistic approach to well-being
I see.
that recognizes that each of these aspects influences the others.
It's like those old school scales they used to use to weigh things. You've got
Yeah.
all these different weights on each side, and the goal is to get them perfectly balanced.
Right.
But I guess in this case, it's about balancing different aspects of our lives, right?
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
It's not about achieving perfection in any one area,
Okay.
but about finding a sense of integration and equilibrium
I see.
across all aspects of your being.
So it's not about being a fitness fanatic who neglects their relationships
Right.
or a workaholic who's always stressed out and never takes time for themselves.
No.
It's about recognizing that all of these areas are interconnected
Yeah,
and that neglecting one will inevitably impact the others.
exactly.
Right.
And Pico Alegre is very clear that this requires discipline.
Okay.
He sees discipline as the bridge between intention and action, the key to maintaining that balance over time.
You know, when I think of discipline, I picture those super strict, regimented routines.
Oh, yeah.
Like waking up at 4 a.m. every day to go for a run and then meditating for an hour.
I know that type.
But I'm guessing Pico Alegre has a different perspective, right?
He definitely doesn't advocate for a one-size-fits-all approach.
Okay, good.
He's more about making conscious choices that align with your values and goals,
I see.
even when it's hard,
Right.
even when it requires sacrifice.
Yeah.
It's about showing up for yourself, honoring your commitments,
Right.
and taking consistent action even when you don't feel like it.
So it's not about forcing yourself into a mold that doesn't fit.
Wow.
It's about cultivating self-mastery, about developing the strength and willpower to make choices that support your long-term well-being,
Exactly.
even when those choices aren't the easiest or most immediately gratifying.
Precisely.
Yeah,
And he doesn't shy away from the fact that this takes effort,
of course.
but he believes that true freedom comes from mastering yourself,
Right.
from having the discipline to create a life that feels authentic and fulfilling.
This is giving me a lot to think about.
Me too.
It's definitely a different way of looking at discipline,
It is.
but let's get specific.
Sure.
What does Pico Alegre say about each of these different dimensions of balance?
He starts with physical vitality,
Okay.
emphasizing the importance of prioritizing your physical health through things like proper nutrition, exercise, and rest.
So the basics.
He sees our bodies as the foundation for all other aspects of our well-being.
Makes sense.
So taking care of ourselves physically is essential.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's hard to feel mentally sharp, emotionally balanced, or spiritually connected when you're exhausted and running on fumes.
It is.
But it's not about becoming obsessed with your appearance or pushing yourself to extremes, right?
No, it's not about that at all.
Okay, good.
It's about listening to your body,
Right.
nourishing it with healthy foods,
Right.
moving your body in ways that feel good,
Yeah.
and giving yourself adequate rest and recovery.
Yeah.
It's about treating your body with respect and honoring its needs.
This reminds me of what he was saying about mindfulness.
Yes.
It's about being present in your body,
Right.
turning into how you feel,
Yeah,
and making choices that support your overall well-being.
exactly.
Yeah.
And he connects this to the importance of what he calls clarity of psyche,
Okay.
which is all about understanding your mental landscape.
Okay. So what does that mean? Is it about therapy, meditation, journaling?
It can be.
What are the tools for achieving this clarity of psyche?
It can definitely involve things like therapy or journaling.
Okay.
He's a big advocate for introspection, for exploring your thoughts, beliefs, and patterns
Right.
to create greater mental clarity and emotional well-being.
So it's not just about thinking positive thoughts. It's
Yeah.
about actively engaging with your inner world,
Right.
understanding those deeper motivations and beliefs that might be driving your actions.
Exactly.
It's about becoming the observer of your own mind.
Exactly.
Right?
And then there's financial equity,
Okay.
which I think is something we often overlook when we talk about personal growth.
Yeah, finances can feel like a completely separate topic, something that's handled by spreadsheets and budgets,
Right.
not something that's connected to our overall well being.
Yeah.
But I can see how financial stress could totally throw off your balance in all these other areas of life.
That's exactly what Pico Alegre is getting at.
Yeah.
He's not saying you need to become a millionaire, but he does advocate for financial awareness,
Okay.
responsible management,
Right.
and the pursuit of financial freedom,
Makes sense.
not just as a means to accumulate wealth, but as a way to create more choices and opportunities in life.
So it's about having a healthy relationship with money, understanding how it impacts your life,
Yeah.
and making conscious choices that support your overall well being. It's
Yeah.
about feeling empowered, not overwhelmed by your finances.
Exactly.
Right.
And he also touches on the importance of harmony and transcendental connection,
Okay.
which is a bit more esoteric.
Okay.
Right.
I'm curious.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well,
Is he talking about religion, spirituality?
he's talking about nurturing your spiritual side,
Right.
whatever that might mean for you personally.
Okay.
It could be through religion,
Yeah.
nature,
Right.
art, music,
Yeah.
community involvement,
Right.
or simply a sense of connection to something larger than yourself.
Okay.
He believes that this connection can provide a sense of purpose, meaning, and belonging, which are essential for a fulfilling life.
That makes sense.
Right.
We've talked about purpose a lot today,
Yeah.
and it seems like this harmony and transcendental connection is a key part of that.
I think so.
It's about aligning yourself with something that gives your life meaning,
Right.
that helps you feel connected to something bigger than yourself.
Absolutely.
Okay, so before we jump to part 2, we were starting to unpack Pico Alegre's principle of total balance.
Right.
And I'm really curious to hear more about how he breaks this down.
Yeah.
Because it seems like a pretty big concept.
It is a big concept.
Yeah.
But he approaches it in a way that feels very grounded and practical.
Okay.
He starts by emphasizing that it's not about achieving some kind of perfect static balance.
Right.
It's about recognizing that all of these different dimensions of our lives,
Okay.
physical, mental, financial, emotional, and spiritual,
Yeah.
are constantly interacting and influencing each other.
Yeah. So it's more like a dance than a destination, right?
Exactly.
It's about finding a rhythm and flow that works for you,
Yeah,
recognizing that there will be times when one area might need more attention than others.
that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It's about being attuned to those shifts and adjustments,
Right.
recognizing that life is a dynamic process and our sense of balance will naturally ebb and flow.
Right.
And we navigate different challenges and opportunities.
This makes me think of that heartbeat analogy he uses, the
Uh-huh.
expansion and contraction, the silence and sound.
Yeah.
It's like there's a natural rhythm to life.
Yeah.
And finding balance is about learning to move with that rhythm rather than resisting it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about surrendering to the process, trusting that even when things feel chaotic or out of balance,
Right.
there's an underlying order and wisdom at play.
Okay, so let's dive into each of these dimensions of balance.
Okay.
Starting with the physical. What does Pico Alegre say about the role of physical health and well-being in creating a rich and meaningful life?
He's very clear that our physical bodies are the foundation for everything else.
Yeah.
If we're not taking care of ourselves physically,
Yeah.
it's going to be much harder to feel mentally sharp, emotionally balanced, or spiritually connected.
Makes sense.
Right.
It's hard to focus on your goals or be present in your relationships when you're exhausted and running on fumes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He emphasizes the importance of things like proper nutrition, regular exercise, and adequate rest.
Okay.
He sees these not as chores or obligations, but as acts of self-care, as ways of honoring and respecting our bodies.
So it's not about punishing yourself with restrictive diets or grueling workouts.
Right.
It's about finding what feels good for your body, nourishing it with healthy foods,
Yeah.
moving in ways that you enjoy,
Yeah.
and giving yourself permission to rest and recharge when you need it.
Exactly.
Okay.
And he stresses that this is an ongoing process.
Yeah.
It's not about achieving some level of perfect physical fitness and then coasting. It's about making conscious choices day in and day out that support your physical well-being.
This resonates with what we were talking about earlier with mindfulness.
Yes.
It's about paying attention to your body, noticing how it feels,
Right.
and making choices that align with what it needs.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
And he connects this to the importance of what he calls clarity of psyche,
Okay.
which is all about understanding your mental landscape,
Right.
cultivating a sense of inner peace and clarity.
Okay, so how do we do that? What are the tools for achieving clarity of psyche?
Well,
Is it about meditation, therapy, journaling?
it can definitely involve those things.
Okay.
He's a big advocate for introspection, for taking the time to explore your thoughts, beliefs, and patterns.
Okay.
It's about becoming aware of the stories you're telling yourself,
Right.
the limiting beliefs that might be holding you back,
Yeah.
and the negative thought patterns that create unnecessary suffering.
So it's not just about thinking positive thoughts.
Hmm.
It's about going deeper, understanding those subconscious programs that might be running in the background
Mhm.
and creating a more supportive and empowering internal dialogue.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
And he suggests a variety of tools for doing this.
Okay.
Meditation can be helpful for calming the mind and developing a sense of inner stillness.
Right.
Journaling can be a powerful way to process emotions and gain insights into your thought patterns.
Yeah, I've done that.
And therapy can provide a safe and supportive space to explore deeper issues and work through past traumas.
It's like we're becoming archaeologists of our own minds, excavating those buried beliefs and patterns that might be shaping our experiences.
I love that analogy.
Thanks.
It's about uncovering those hidden treasures
Right.
and also recognizing the areas that might need some excavating,
Yeah.
some clearing out of old debris to create space for something new to emerge.
This is fascinating.
It is.
And I'm realizing that all of these different dimensions of balance are so interconnected. Taking care of your physical health can create more mental clarity and emotional stability.
Mhm.
And cultivating a sense of inner peace can make it easier to make healthy choices for your body.
Yeah,
It's like a positive feedback loop.
that's exactly it.
Right.
And this brings us to financial equity,
Okay.
which is another essential element of Pico Alegre's principle of total balance.
You know, when we talk about personal growth, finances often get left out of the conversation.
do.
But I think you're right. It's an essential piece of the puzzle.
Absolutely.
I know from personal experience that financial stress can have a huge impact on your mental and emotional well-being.
Absolutely.
Right.
And Pico Alegre acknowledges that.
Okay.
He emphasizes the importance of financial awareness, responsible management,
Mm-hmm.
and the pursuit of financial freedom,
Right.
not as a means to accumulate wealth, but as a way to create more choices and opportunities in life.
So it's not about becoming a millionaire or obsessing over every penny. It's about feeling empowered by your finances rather than controlled by them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about having a clear understanding of your income, expenses, and financial goals.
Right.
It's about making conscious choices that align with your values and priorities.
Okay.
And it's about creating a sense of security and stability
Yeah.
so that finances aren't a constant source of stress and worry.
This resonates with what Pico Alegre was saying about the law of prioritization.
It does.
It's about making sure that your spending habits align with what truly matters to you
Yeah.
and that you're not just mindlessly throwing money at things that don't bring you joy or fulfillment.
Absolutely.
Oh,
And it's about recognizing that true wealth isn't just about money.
right.
It's about having abundance in all areas of your life,
Yeah.
time, energy, relationships, and purpose.
So it's about finding that sweet spot where you have enough financial resources to support your chosen lifestyle, but you're not sacrificing your well-being or your values in the pursuit of wealth.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, I like that.
And this leads us to another dimension of balance that's often overlooked:
Okay.
harmony and transcendental connection,
Okay.
which might sound a bit woo-woo, but it's actually a very grounding concept.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
What does Pico Alegre mean by harmony and transcendental connection?
Mm.
Is he talking about religion, spirituality?
He's really talking about nurturing your spiritual side, whatever that means to you.
Okay.
It could be through traditional religion,
Right.
or it could be through a connection to nature, art, music, or community.
Okay.
It's about tapping into something larger than yourself,
I see.
something that gives you a sense of purpose, meaning, and belonging.
I think a lot of people are searching for that these days,
I agree.
especially in a world that can feel so disconnected and fragmented. We're craving that sense of belonging, that feeling of being part of something bigger than ourselves.
Absolutely.
Right.
And Pico Alegre suggests that this connection can be a powerful source of strength and resilience. It can help us navigate difficult times with more grace and perspective.
Right.
And it can infuse our lives with a sense of meaning and purpose.
This reminds me of what he said about legacy.
Uh-huh.
It's not just about our individual achievements. It's about contributing to something larger than ourselves,
Yeah,
leaving the world a little better than we found it.
exactly.
Right.
And he suggests that this harmony and transcendental connection can be a source of profound inspiration and creativity.
Oh, wow.
It can help us tap into a deeper well of wisdom and guidance,
Right.
and it can fuel our passions and our desire to make a positive impact on the world.
So it's not about escaping from the world or becoming overly focused on the afterlife.
No,
It's about finding that sense of connection that gives our lives meaning and purpose right here, right now.
exactly.
I like that.
It's about recognizing that we are part of something much bigger and more interconnected than we often realize.
And this brings us full circle to Pico Alegre's concept of the alchemy of being, which is all about refining and transforming ourselves to achieve fulfillment and authenticity.
It is.
He suggests that by cultivating balance across all of these different dimensions, physical, mental, financial, emotional, and spiritual, we can unlock our true potential and create a life that feels truly rich and meaningful.
That's a powerful idea.
It is.
It suggests that personal growth isn't just about acquiring new skills or knowledge,
Right.
but about an inner transformation, about becoming the best version of ourselves.
Well, I have to admit, it sounds a little daunting. How do we actually put all of this into practice?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And one that Pico Alegre addresses head on.
Okay.
He emphasizes that the journey of metamorphosis is ongoing,
Right.
a continuous process of learning, adapting, and refining.
Right. So we're always working on it.
He encourages us to be patient with ourselves, embrace our imperfections, and celebrate the small victories along the way.
So it's not about achieving some perfect state of balance and staying there forever. It's about continually striving for harmony, recognizing that there will be times when we feel more balanced than others, and that's okay.
Exactly.
Right.
And he reminds us that the journey itself is just as important as the destination.
Okay.
It's in the striving, the experimenting, the falling down and getting back up that we truly learn and grow.
This reminds me of what we were talking about earlier with the dung beetle metaphor. Growth can be messy and uncomfortable at times,
Yes,
but it's through those challenges that we shed old patterns and transform into something new.
absolutely.
Right.
And Pico Alegre uses another beautiful metaphor to describe this process.
Okay.
He compares it to a painter creating a masterpiece, stroke by stroke, day by day.
Okay.
He's saying that we are the artists of our own lives and that we have the power to shape our own canvases.
That's such a beautiful image.
It is.
It's not about following someone else's blueprint or trying to force ourselves into a mold that doesn't fit.
Right.
It's about embracing our own unique creativity and expressing ourselves authentically in the world.
Exactly.
Right.
And he reminds us that this is an ongoing process.
Right.
It's not about achieving some endpoint of perfect balance and then stopping.
Right.
It's about constantly refining our craft, experimenting with new colors and techniques,
Yeah.
and allowing ourselves to evolve and grow over time.
So it's not about perfection.
No.
It's about progress. It's about showing up each day and doing the work, even when it's hard, even when we feel discouraged.
Exactly.
Okay.
And he emphasizes the importance of self-compassion.
Oh, yeah. That's important.
It's about being kind to ourselves,
Yeah.
giving ourselves permission to make mistakes,
Right.
and recognizing that setbacks are an inevitable part of the growth process.
I love that.
It's about treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer a loved one who's going through a difficult time.
Absolutely.
And it's about remembering that we are all works in progress.
Right.
We are all constantly evolving and refining ourselves.
Right.
And the journey itself is where the true beauty and richness of life is found.
This has been such an insightful conversation so far.
It has.
We've explored so much ground from the dung beetle's metamorphosis to the alchemy of being to the principle of total balance. But there's one more concept that I want to circle back to before we wrap up.
I'm listening.
You know, as we've been talking about this journey of transformation, it's striking how much emphasis Pico Alegre places on overcoming inertia.
Yeah, it's a recurring theme.
It's not just a passing mention, it's a whole book, Vencendo a Inertia.
Right.
And we haven't really dug into that specifically yet.
True.
Okay, but we've talked about inertia as this feeling of being stuck. How exactly does that tie into this idea of alchemy, of actively refining and transforming ourselves?
Well, I think Pico Alegre is saying that overcoming inertia is essential for the alchemical process to even begin. It's like you can't create a masterpiece on a canvas that's already covered in layers of old, dried up paint.
Right.
You have to clear the slate, create space for something new to emerge.
So it's not just about adding new habits or learning new skills. It's about shedding limiting the things that are no longer serving us to make room for the transformation to take place.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And that requires effort, courage, and a willingness to step outside of our comfort zones.
right.
It's about recognizing that real change, lasting transformation, often involves discomfort, uncertainty, and even a bit of chaos.
That reminds me of that quote we mentioned earlier, the one that's like a personal growth alarm clock.
Oh, yeah.
A man has two lives. The second begins when he realizes he only has one.
It's a powerful one.
It's like, okay, time to wake up and get moving.
Exactly.
Right.
It's a reminder that we don't have unlimited time to waste on inertia, on staying stuck in patterns that aren't serving us.
Right.
We have a choice every single day to either stay asleep or to wake up and start living with intention.
And to choose that second life, to embrace the journey of transformation, we need to first break free from the inertia that's keeping us tethered to the first.
I think that's a beautiful way to put it.
And it's not just about big dramatic shifts either. Sometimes overcoming inertia is about taking small steps, making tiny adjustments to our routines, our mindsets, our habits.
Right. Those little things can make a big difference over time.
Like those small, seemingly insignificant choices that over time compound and create massive change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It could be something as simple as choosing to go for a walk instead of scrolling through social media or deciding to cook a healthy meal instead of ordering takeout.
Right.
These little acts of defiance against inertia, they start to add up. They build momentum and they create a ripple effect that can transform every aspect of our lives.
It's like that saying, small hinges swing big doors. I like that.
Okay, so we talk about overcoming inertia, the power of self-awareness, the art of prioritization, the eloquence of the silence, the complexity of emotions, the principle of total balance, and the transformative process of the alchemy of being.
We have covered a lot of ground. What are some key insights that you hope will resonate with our listener as they continue their own journey of personal growth?
Well, I think the most important message is that transformation is possible. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes work commitment and a willingness to embrace discomfort, but we have the power to create the lives we desire.
I think that's a perfect note to end on.
Yeah, it is hopeful, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think it really captures the essence of Pico Alegre's work, this idea that we're not just passive recipients of our experiences, but active participants in shaping our own lives.
I agree. He really empowers us to take ownership of our journey and to never give up on the pursuit of becoming our best selves.
And I hope our listeners are walking away with a sense of that empowerment, a renewed sense of possibility, and a whole toolbox full of strategies for navigating the ups and downs of personal growth.
And I hope they're walking away with a sense of curiosity too, because as we've seen, there's always more to discover, more to learn, more to become.
Absolutely. If you're intrigued by these ideas and want to dive deeper, I highly recommend checking out Pico Alegre's books, Metamorphosis and Cinnamentos, Para Ganhar Uma Vida Rica, and Vencendo Inertia.
Yeah, they're definitely worth the read.
And until next time, keep diving deep, keep questioning, keep exploring, and most importantly, keep transforming.